guys, this is Nona from Between Two Pines Dog Training. So, one of the questions I get a lot is, what exactly is games-based training or games-based concept training? So, I thought I'd make a little video for you. So I have a friend that says every good story starts with a brain. So, this is a depiction of your dog's brain, and inside that brain, there are building blocks. Some people call them concepts. I like to refer to them as characteristics. And so these characteristics, and by the way, this is just an example of some of the characteristics in your dog's brain. By any means, it's not, all of them that are there. But your dog has all these characteristics in their brain or building blocks. And, every dog is different. Some dogs have more flexibility than other dogs. Some dogs have more optimism than other dogs. So every dog is different as far as what they're going to have as far as these characteristics. And the thing about these characteristics is they really inform the behaviors that your dog has. So your dogs, when they have different things coming at them and they're choosing behaviors, what they choose to do is really going to depend on all these characteristics and the strengths and weaknesses within those characteristics. So, where do these come from? Well, they come from all kinds of different things. First of all, we always have to remember that our dog is a dog. And so, a lot of the things they do are just dog behaviors. But they still depend on things like breed. I have some very different dogs in at our house, and I always have to remember, that my border collie is going to act very differently than my dog that is a Staffordshire Bull or our Husky. So it's all really dependent on the breed and what they were bred to do. My border collies have a lot of independence, but not so much optimism. Okay. Gender plays into it a lot, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on gender, but it is, it is going to affect their characteristics and strengths and weaknesses if they're male, female, and are they spayed or neutered, or are they not spayed or neutered. And that really, there's been some really interesting studies out there on how gender and being fixed or not fixed really applies to those characteristics. Age plays into it. I have had a lot of people say to me, well, puppies are a blank canvas. They really are not. They actually come with these characteristics, and they are going to have strengths and weaknesses depending on gender, breed. And they are, puppies still have these characteristics and need them to be developed. And then lastly, experiences. Experiences really play into these characteristics and how much they have this, again, the strengths and weaknesses within those characteristics. So what happens is our dogs get a lot of input from the environment, and they take that input, and they get visual, but they also have hearing and awesome smell. And so they're getting a lot of input all the time and having to make decisions almost constantly about how they're going to react to that input. So they have this perception of input that comes in, and they have to ask themselves lots of questions. And a couple of the questions they ask are, you know, am I the input that I'm getting, is it really there? And then they usually ask themselves, is it good or bad? And that's when these characteristics start to really kick in. So these characteristics will help them determine, is it good or bad? And depending on their strengths and weaknesses in there, they're going to have output from their brain that will determine what behavior they have related to that input. So let me give you an example. If I'm walking with my 13-year-old border collie who does not have very much optimism, is not flexible, does not have very good tolerance of frustration, she's going to see, let's say we're walking and she sees a dog running towards her. So her decision based on her characteristics is going to be probably to start barking, pulling on her leash, lunging at that dog. She's going to be saying, get away from me. Whereas if I was walking my friend's lab, um, And that lab who loves to play with other dogs sees a dog running towards him, he's gonna probably he has um, a lot of flexibility, a lot of optimism, but he does not have much focus or tolerance of frustration. Definitely not much calm. So he's probably going to start barking, lunging, so he can get to that dog. Same behaviors, I know, but they are coming from different areas of the brain, different building blocks that need to really be, kind of topped up. Because my best behavior would be that either of those dogs not react at all. So when we have dogs that we really want to change those behaviors that are based on those building blocks, there's really three types of learning that we can do, or training that we can do. And the first one is using aversives. So this is like using pinch collars, shock collars, spray collars, choke chains, intimidation, hitting our dogs, yelling at our dogs. And I know that seems like abrupt, but these are the types of things that people who use aversives use to get their dog to stop a behavior. So the behavior happens and they use the aversive, and that feedback tells the dog to stop that behavior. Treat training, number two, is where you have a dog that once the behavior happens, a treat is given, and it is a positive thing that the dog is all like, oh, a positive association with this. I'm going to do this behavior all the time, so long as my person has treats. But when the treats are gone, no go. So what happens in those two types is they're training in the situation. Whereas when we're building up the concepts and characteristics, it's actually changing the brain, and it's helping our dogs to learn how to behave, or what the output is going to be when the situation happens. So we're doing the training before the situation, we're training for that situation so that they actually have what they need to deal with that situation when it arises. So how do we do that? We do it through games. And so another way to put this is, we're doing it with strategies to help build the concepts they need built, or help change the concepts they need changed. Because sometimes they might have a concept that's really strong. Let's say like we have a dog whose energy goes up really easily. And so we might want to be able to tone that down. So we might want to not really build that concept anymore, but maybe we'll build the other concept in their brain, which is energy down, or thinking in a high energy state. Thing about games is it is fun. So when you have, it's fun for you, it's fun for your dog. When you have that going on, it's really going to build your relationship with your dog. Another thing about it is it's not the expected 45 minutes to an hour of training every day or three times a week. It's 3 minutes of training, maybe three times a day. You can fit it into your lifestyle much easier. And again, it's kind of a fun thing to do. It's not a have to do thing. And it really works nicely with people and their lifestyles. And you just got a lot of benefits from it. So here's an example of me playing a game with my dog Dutch. This game's
Nice.
called Orientation. I'm using his kibble,
Nice.
and I'm throwing a piece of his kibble out, and I'm not
Nice.
nagging him. I'm waiting for him to find the kibble. When he turns his head back to me, I'm marking that with the word good or nice or something like that, and throwing out another piece the opposite
Nice.
direction. He will always turn back to me because that is in his nature to turn back.
Nice.
And then when I finish the game here in a minute, I'm not going to throw one out. I'm just going to let him
Oh.
come to me right there, and I'm going to put several pieces on the ground for him to get and just eat. Okay, so I'm going to scatter them around the ground. So you're thinking, okay, well, what good is this game? So let me tell you, this game actually builds several concepts. So one concept that it builds is disengagement. And so this would be a great thing. So I throw out something that is really engaging to him, but then he's going to turn away from that and turn back to me. This is really great. So he is going to disengage from something out in the environment and then re engage with
Nice.
me. All right. So this is a wonderful thing when I'm
Nice.
teaching them to recall.
Nice.
I really want him to disengage from the environment and re-engage with me. Another thing this is teaching is some nice proximity, because he's going to find value in being close to me. So this works out for me again for recall, but it's also nice when I'm trying to work on loose lead walking with him. So we're really teaching several concepts here. So you're saying probably, so this is great. So how do I use this to actually change their brain? So what we do is we take these games, and I'm going to start playing this game like in a familiar environment. So a place where they're comfortable, not a lot of distraction. Then I might move, when they get good there, move it to another environment that be outdoors. So there's a little bit of natural distraction there, but it's going to be somewhere they're comfortable again, and they're going to be comfortable in that area, and I'm going to play that game again until they get really well playing that game there. Then I might go out into another area, maybe in public, but somewhere where there's not a lot of distractions close by, far off distractions. Play there. When he gets good, go to the out and about area where they have some distractions that are a little closer. When they get good, then I'm going to take them out, and I'm going to play this game where there's lots of real life distractions. When they can do this game in that area, then they've really built those concepts up, and they can really use that for situations. Now, there are a couple things I want to talk about games that are really kind of cool. So, like I mentioned a little bit ago, that you play the games for 3 minutes. So there's a 3 by 3 by 3 rule. So you're playing for 3 minutes. You're playing 3 times a day, and you do it for 3 weeks. When you do that, what research has shown is that it actually starts to change a behavior. In that 21 days, you're going to see some change. And that's for most dogs. I'm not talking about really serious, like reactive dogs and that kind of stuff. That might take a little bit longer, but it's really cool to be able to see that change. And sometimes we see change even sooner than that. The other thing is the 1% rule. And so 1% effort really gives you amazing results. So the research again shows that if you put 1% of your effort into working with your dog, that you are going to see about 36 to 38% improvement over a year. And you think about that. And so the returns are just immense doing training this way. So, um, how I work is I got together with a company called Absolute Dogs, and I've done their program. They have built a whole program around this games based training. And so I go there, and I've learned just the games based training plus a lot of other stuff. And in 2019, I became certified with them. I'm continuing to learn from them all the time. And I've seen results from this not only with other people's dog, but with mine as well. So it's just really cool. And so a lot of the stuff I use is from them. So, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. If you want to know more, please visit my website. Check us out on Facebook. I put a lot of stuff up there. And contact me if you have any questions. Until then, keep playing.